Okay, guys, I know you can see the audacity in the background, and I know this is a little bit ghetto of a setup, but welcome to the EMF for Real podcast, though.
Oh, podcast.
Okay. I know you're so excited.
I'm so excited.
If you don't know us already, my name's Emman or Emmanuel,
My name is Tony.
and we are the EMF for Real team that has been posting all of them engineering reels throughout your feeds probably that you've seen. But anyways, the whole point that I wanted to do a podcast, and you're probably like, what the heck? This short form guy's doing long form things. He's doing a podcast, what the heck? Is because I'm going to be finishing university very soon, my engineering degree very soon.
Boy's done.
It's going to be like 4 more months. And throughout my basically 6 years almost of engineering, I've learned a lot. And my boy Tony here, even though he's not in engineering, he's been learning a lot, and he has learned a lot throughout his degree. So we want to basically share all of the tips and tricks that we have for the students and how to succeed in engineering and everything that I've learned throughout my 5 years, and pass it to the next generation of engineering students.
The next gen.
Yes, sir. So for this episode specifically, we're going to actually start with my 5th year level study system. So we're going to start with something that I've covered in a recent reel. I guess it was back in November, where it got 200K views, which I was not expecting. And a lot of people found it very useful. One of my favorite comments on that is like Yoda meme.
I saw that.
But I guess that just shows how much that I can share that students don't already know, which seems very obvious to people like us. But to people that are fresh into university, it just isn't as
Prevalent.
exactly. It's not as obvious, at least. So please don't mind the audacity in the background, and don't mind the whole this podcast room and stuff like that. We'll improve as we go, but as of now, we just want to try to give you guys as much value as we can with the time and resources that we have so far. Okay, so boom, 3 cameras. We're going to start off with my 5th year level study system that I've been using and developing for my 5 to 6 years. I wish it was 6, 7, but 5 to 6 years in engineering. If you don't know about my background, I'm in 5th year mechanical engineering co-op at the University of Alberta in Canada, which is one of the top universities for engineering in our country, at least.
That's right.
I've gone through a lot of ups, a lot of downs. My high school, I got 90s across the board, some English language. That didn't do well. But for physics, chemistry, math, those are the things that I was really good at. And then moving into engineering, that's where I was able to apply those analytical and critical thinking skills into an actual degree. So that's a little bit about myself. What we're going to try to do here is I'll go over each of these steps in the system, which I have used to help apply, that I have applied and used to get those close to 4.0 GPAs. I can't remember if I actually had 4.0 semesters. I think there might have been one, but really decent GPAs, especially while doing content creation and doing things that are outside of school, like engineering projects or engineering clubs, part-time job, whatever it may be. So I'm going to apply this system here. I'm going to show you guys step by step what it is. I just wanted to give you that background so you know why it may work for you, because it did work for me. So number 1, and Tony will be here to comment on it and see how his experience has been affected by each of these steps as well. But number 1 is study the syllabus and look at the weighting of assignments, quizzes, midterms, and finals. So in university life, regardless of the degree that you're in, but especially in engineering because you are so busy, you want to prioritize your time by how much it can affect your GPA if that is what you are focused on, at least. And the things that are going to affect your GPA, the things that are weighed the most in your syllabus. So the good rule of thumb is that you should look at your syllabus, see what is weighed the most, and prioritize and delegate your time accordingly to how much it is weighed in your syllabus. So the more it is weighed, the more you should spend your focus and time on those things. Tony, did you have anything to speak on that affected you?
I think you summed it up really well. I used to remember looking at the syllabus and being like, oh, got a really big final, 50%. Got a couple of assignments that can help me soften the blow on that 50% final. And I would prioritize my learning towards that final. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I have 2 assignments worth 20%. Let me allocate some time and resources to that. And really just, what do I focus on? What do I put my time towards?
So, as Tony was saying, when you look at each of the deliverables or each of the things that will be marked in syllabus and in your courses, basically, a lot of students would go assignment 1, assignment 2, assignment 3, perhaps, or deliverable 1, 2, 3, and they might go, we'll just start with what is coming up earliest and then work our way down. But what might be a better strategy for some of you is to actually see what are the weights for each. So, for example, assignment 1 is worth 5%, assignment 2 is worth 20%, and assignment 3 is worth, again, 10%, maybe, right? So let's say 5, 20, and 10%, okay? The mistake that most students make would be to spend the exact same amount of time and focus and energy on each of them accordingly just because they are all assignments.
Yes.
Now, if you had just simply looked at the syllabus and see what is actually going to move the GPA needle the most, then you can see, oh, I should probably work more on assignment 2. And even if I get carried away, and I should not allow myself to get carried away with working so much on assignment 1 and 3, the same as assignment 2.
It's like, we're not saying to not try on the assignments. We're just saying, like, try your best, but, like, don't go over and above for it.
Exactly. So, again, leverage your time as much as possible according to the weights of each of the deliverables. And then that is by far the easiest change that you can make to allowing yourself to get a higher GPA by far, because it's literally you focusing on the things that will move the GPA needle the most. So that was only number 1. And that was juicy already.
Goodness.
I was like a burger and I was like, I can't even fit it out of my mouth. But number 2 is during lecture, take notes on the notes and focus on listening, not writing. So now this one may split some people because a lot of people learn differently and take notes on lecture differently.
I was really not doing this at the beginning. I'm not going to say I was not doing this at the beginning. This is something that I had to take a long time to really be like, maybe I'm taking notes wrong. This is usually the thing you should be following, in my opinion. I think it's worked for me.
Again, a lot of people learn differently, but I've seen, at least for myself and what Tony is saying here, is that what you want to focus on in the lectures is what the professor is saying that may be actually valuable to your learning. And writing that down and focusing your attention on that. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to lecture and copying everything that the professor is saying without actually processing it, then you might as well just go on your e-class or whatever online class you have and just look at the lecture notes and not even attend the lecture. Because there becomes no point in actually going to the lecture if all you do is take notes without actually listening. So you might as well give yourself some value for actually attending your lectures by listening instead of simply writing. So what does that mean? When you go to lecture, listen to what the professor is saying that makes sense specifically to you. When something makes sense to you, write that down. It may not make sense to the person beside you or make sense to everyone else. Make it make sense to you, because at the end of the day, you're trying to learn yourself and you're trying to study the way that makes sense to you. And some other things that are really important to note down is if the professor literally says something is on a midterm, something is on a final, or something is very important, then that is literally your added value for going to lecture. Having someone that knows the course tell you how to succeed in the course. That is added. So you might as well, all I'm saying right now is if you're going to attend lecture, you might as well add some value to being present in the class rather than just mindlessly taking notes that are on the screen in front of you, right?
I couldn't have said it better. Just as long as you're there to really, you have the notes in front of you. As a professor lists a certain topic or is going over a certain topic, and they say something extra that wasn't on the notes, and you're like, that wasn't on the notes, and you can then make sense of that, write that down.
So that is step number 2, which is that during lectures, take notes on the notes and focus on listening rather than writing. Again, you're attending class for a reason, so you might as well make it more valuable than you just writing down whatever the professor is saying without actually taking it in yourself. You're going to be learning so much at such a rapid speed throughout university, so you might as well take the time to listen a little bit, let it digest while you're in class, again, instead of writing everything that the professor is saying. Number 3 of my 5th year level study system is when you receive an assignment, at least look at it to find relevant topics in lectures. So I don't know how much this applies to you, but so many times the professor would give an assignment we wouldn't have even learned the content of until the next lecture or 2 lectures in advance. And some students might be like, oh, then I'm not even going to look at the assignment then. There's no point because I have no idea what it means anyways. But if you at least take a peek at the assignment, even just for 1 minute, couple minutes, just to see and train your brain as to understand what is going to be important for that assignment, then when you go into the lectures, then you'll be like, oh, wait, I actually do recognize this part from one of the assignments. Then you can star that, put that as assignment 1 note or clue. Or maybe it might be an exact question or a very similar question to something that is already on the assignment, which will be something that I'll talk about in step 4. But as long as you do that, right away, you can train your brain to being more efficient as to getting through these assignments. Because sometimes when you go through an assignment and then you look through your lectures, it can be so long. It takes so long to find out what's relevant, what's important. And then you end up going through a rabbit hole that didn't even apply to your assignment in the first place. So again, you have so little time for the amount of work that you're given, especially in engineering. So you might as well work to make it more efficient through doing stuff like this, small stuff like this, looking through an assignment, train your brain to see what is relevant for later on when you actually do learn those lectures, that content that you need for the assignment. So giving yourself hints essentially.
And it's basically just, in other words, you're basically getting ahead. You're pushing yourself to be like, I haven't learned this yet. I need to apply it. I got to prep myself for this because this is coming up. So you're basically working ahead. You're basically going to be ahead of everybody else if you're doing it. Yeah.
And it's nice to be ahead of everyone else. It is when you can.
It's very nice.
Step 4 is once you start an assignment, look through lecture, seminar, midterm problems, even final problems, because the question could literally be there. Now, this is again hinting at the efficiency of getting these deliverables done, especially in engineering. Again, so little time for the amount of work that you're given. So you want to increase your efficiency by doing things like this. So the point is, in your assignments, the professors, the TAs, whoever is compiling the assignments has to have gotten it from somewhere, a source. Now, more likely than not, the source of where those questions are may be from one of the resources that they have given you or are going to give you. So it might be just a matter of just waiting a little bit or just seeing if it already exists. So go through stuff like lecture problems, seminar problems, midterm problems, final problems that are all in the resources that your professor may give you, because the question could literally be there. In my experience, this probably happens. I said earlier, more likely than not, but I'd actually say it's probably like 30 to 40% of the time it happens. And it's sad because you go through all of this work to try to do this assignment, and then you just realize later on, oh, shoot, it was one of the seminar problems. I could have just copied it, or it was just a matter of changing the numbers. I could have just done that. So go through your resources, look if these problems are already existing somewhere else in one of those resources. Now, there is an important caveat to this, because yes, the source comes from somewhere, but it is important to make sure that that source is something that the professor does give you or the course does give you, because there may be other sources that you may not be allowed to access.
Can't speak on those.
Again, academic integrity is very important, and you do want to, at the end of the day, exercise your engineering brain, because at the end of the day, you're doing this degree for a reason. It's not just to go through the content and learn the content. It's also to apply engineering critical thinking and analytical thinking. So that is part of why you're going through this degree and why they put so much work onto you, right? So again, challenge yourself, but if you ever get stuck, look through your resources, look where problems may exist, just so you can try to make it more efficient for you.
And I think Emman was mentioning 40% of the time. I'm not an eng. I can't really speak on eng, but for my degree, I had it occur almost up to 90% of the time throughout my 5 years of degree. You would have at least 2 or 3 questions from either a practice or an assignment. And sometimes I've had it occur where literally half the exam was from one of the quizzes. Like, it was just literally our previous quiz questions. He just swapped the numbers, swapped the topic, but same concept. So as long as you get the basic concepts down, you can swap it and test yourself.
That's a really good one as well.
Yeah.
when I was prepping for midterms, I feel like so many of the midterms that I had taken were just an assignment question that was just altered in some way. And sometimes it was literally the same question.
It's just because it tests the fundamentals. It's just there's no way it wouldn't be, right? Yeah.
I'm not going to do this for this episode, but for a future episode, if you guys want to see it, we can do an episode on how to make formula sheets and like prep for these midterms and these finals. Just because that's such a big part of it as well. And I feel like my formula sheets have helped me so much and have been such a game changer in my GPA. Let us know if you want that episode like that. But
in
for
our comments.
Yes, for step 5 of my 5th year level study system, we have, if you do not understand the topic enough, watch a quick YouTube video on it. So the reason why I say this, especially when you might be thinking, oh, Emmanuel, I'm already paying all this tuition to go to the lectures from these profs that are super smart human beings, have PhDs, they have all this. Why would I just go to a YouTube video for? Now, yes, you would be very correct to say that it is very good to go to your lectures and always you need to go to your lectures, especially for your specific course. But the thing is, in my experience, professors are very good at explaining incredibly complex problems and very complex content. However, something that may be very easy to them may be very complex to us in relativity, right? So the reason why I say watch a quick YouTube video on something, especially to understand the content a little bit better and help it digest, is because YouTube videos are very visual and are very easy or very good at dumbing things down that may not be as easily explainable for a professor. For example, you know what? I'm not even gonna give you an example just because there's so much. It would be so hard for me to say something that would be very. Anyways,
There's a lot.
the point is some things are very easy to understand visually rather than for a professor showing you through slides and through his voice. And YouTube videos are very good at doing just that through animations, through diagrams that are very dynamic and they're editing. They're very engineered to have high retention, things like that. Like those are the reasons why YouTube videos are so great and they're so digestible as well. Whether it's before a lecture or after a lecture, if you do not understand a topic enough, watch a quick YouTube video on it. And I promise you that will help you just take in the information so much better, especially when the professor is flying through the content so fast.
And I want to add, another thing you could do is also do the reverse. So sometimes a prof, so let's say the topic for the this has happened to me personally. So previously the prof on the previous lecture would say that tomorrow's lecture will be extremely difficult. Pretense, it's in a difficult topic. So they'll tell you to read the notes. But once you read the notes, it's static. Don't move. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what you're looking at. You don't know what you're looking through. Sometimes the words are complex. So if you watch a YouTube video before the lecture to help the digestion too, and then watch it after, it only takes, I think, max total 10 minutes of your time because it's already dumbed down as a YouTube video. Yeah. That's like, so helpful as well, especially in a fast-paced setting where you're like, oh my God, I got a day to process everything. Just take out like 5 minutes to watch that YouTube video. I know I've done that, and it's lessened the stress.
For YouTube channels, one of my favorite ones is The Efficient Engineer, especially for mechanical engineering, civil engineering, more physical parts of engineering. Those ones are super good because they bring in actual engineering knowledge, but they make it so digestible and so shout out to them later. Oh my goodness, I love their videos so much.
Shout out.
Fluid dynamics, I think stress analysis, stuff like that, really good. Number 6, which is a very important one, if not the most important one in engineering, is work with others. Now, this may go without saying, and guys might be like, oh, I already knew that. Engineering is so difficult at times. And engineering is very much not a solo sport. So be sure to put yourself in a team where you are surrounded by people that also want to get high GPAs. This is very much hinting at the environment part of it, where people that you spend, the 5 people that you spend the most time with, you'll become like them. So if you put yourself around people that have high GPAs, 5 of them, then you yourself should get a high GPA. That is part of the environment aspect and identity aspect of trying to get a high GPA through engineering, right? But work with others is very important because the course loads can be very high and very heavy. So this again talks about the efficiency of trying to get knowledge in and out. into your brain, out onto a piece of paper. So being able to work with others allows you to teach the content, or you can bounce ideas off of each other, or you can go through these problems together. Now, all of that is really good, but it's one thing to be able to collaborate with people, but it's another thing to rely on people.
Yes.
Collaboration is, again, using each other to help expedite the learning process, to get these assignments done more effectively and efficiently. That is collaboration. You guys working together on a problem, but you guys are all applying your critical and analytical thinking. It is a challenge for everyone, right? But if you're doing it to rely on others, where you're just simply asking people, how do you do this question? And you're not really processing how to do the question yourself. It's always good to ask people how to do the question, especially when you're stuck. But if you're just asking the question, can you help me do this question, without processing, oh, why did this person do step 1, step 2, step 3? Why did they pull this information from this lecture? If you're not doing that, then not only does it become bad for you in terms of your analytical thinking as an engineer, but it also might put you at academic integrity.
It's borderline plagiarism.
Exactly, right? So you might be violating something there, and that not only puts jeopardy on you, but maybe on your colleagues as well. So that's just something that you want to look out for, and is a really important caveat with working with others. But very much, engineering is incredibly difficult, so spread the stress equals force over area. That's actually a really good one.
I really like that.
I just made that right now.
Yo.
I'm gonna be cooking right now.
Clip that, chat.
Clip this. So with working with others, stress equals force over area.
Yes.
The force is going to be the same from the assignments, but if you can spread the surface area amongst people and amongst the
equal
team,
force.
Exactly. Then the stress will go down because
Yes.
the area is inversely proportional to the stress that you're going to be experiencing, whether it be with materials or with people.
That's
Damn,
That's
cooked.
slapped. That's
Damn,
slapped.
we cooked.
You cooking right there. That was good.
Now, number 7, the very last one, which is my favorite one for my 5th year level study system, is once you get stuck on something, on an assignment, maybe it's like a lab or whatever it is. Once you get stuck, do not hesitate to reach out to a professor or a TA through office hours or email. Now, office hours can be a whole episode alone, because that is such an underrated thing in all of university. It took me probably 2 or 3 years to really understand how to efficiently and effectively use office hours.
It's like a whole game. I'm only on my last year that I realized I missed out. I did not use this enough. It's probably a key to a lot of my colleagues' successes, is office hours, because in a nutshell, they literally are talking to the person that made the exam.
Exactly.
Like,
So,
dude.
just to bounce off what Tony just said there, when you are going to office hours, you are essentially talking to the person or people, the professor or TA, that created the course or have taken the course so many times they can't even count anymore. That means that the questions that you have that are in your brain have probably been asked by students before you many other times. And these are the questions that they know the exact answer to, and they know exactly how to explain it to you so it makes sense. Let me just ask you this. If you had any problem in engineering, and it would take you maybe 30 minutes to solve a question that may take you 3 to 5 hours plus more to solve yourself, would you do it? Of course you would do it.
Of course, it's a no-brainer right there.
The answer to do that is simply the office hour. The point of the office hour, and if you don't already know, the office hours are the times that you go to a professor or TA to ask questions or for help on basically anything course related, right?
I would like to preface though, you've got to do some critical thinking before you go, because your professors are like, they don't like to waste time. They're like on the dot on each thing, and if you go to them like completely empty-brained, they will be a little bit hard on you. They'll call you out on that. But go with a little bit of thinking.
Exactly. So that's what office hours is. It is a time for you to ask questions to the course people. And as Tony said, when you are going to these office hours, at least put some effort in to show that you have tried to do the work, that you have tried to tussle with that concept in your brain a little bit, just so that they know you're not just using them just as brainless and you didn't even try. Because they'll definitely call you out and they'll say, like, go actually read the lecture before talking to me.
Yes.
They'll probably say something like that.
Yeah.
So come with good questions, or at least questions that are worth asking after reviewing the lecture or whatever. If you could, the purpose of the office hour is to expedite your learning. That is basically what it is. And the way that I like to see it is that if you go to enough office hours, there is probably no chance that you should get a low GPA. And I said this in one of my videos on Instagram. If you go to every single office hour, I can almost guarantee, I'm not going to say that promise because it may depend on the person, but
Yes, yeah.
there is almost no excuse that you will get a low GPA or something below 3.0. On a 4.0 GPA grade scale, there's almost no reason. There's almost no excuse that you have. If you go into every single office hour in that course.
Assuming you had thought about each question and the questions you're asking into the office hour, of course.
Exactly.
There's no way.
So, how do you use office hours, right? So, first of all, as Tony said, review your lecture and write down the questions that you have, maybe after the lecture or during the lecture, and then come to your professor's office hour asking those exact questions and really trying to process and explain your perspective to the professor. The more that you can explain your perspective and why you think it's this way, the more they'll be able to pull you away from that incorrect way if it is incorrect, or try to revise your thinking a little bit. Because they've heard it so many times, they've heard that question so many times, they'll know exactly how to explain it to you, right? Now, you can use that for questions that you have of the concepts of the actual lectures, and you can use it for stuff like the labs or assignments. Now, when you're actually going for an assignment, actually, again, try a little bit to solve that assignment question. But my favorite thing about office hours is that sometimes, as long as you show that you've tried a little bit, they might just give you the question.
Yeah, that's happened to me multiple
They
times.
might just, because, again, professors are busy people. They have to do their research or whatever it is. And maybe they don't have the time or the patience.
They sometimes don't have the patience
to explain the whole thing to you and try to get you to come to the conclusion yourself. So they're just like, okay, here, just take the answer. It might happen to you, it might not. But if it doesn't happen, then at least try to ask a little bit. If they don't actually give you the answer, ask them, where in my lecture notes can I review or look back at so that I can put myself on a good course to answering the question. So that might be one question that you may ask. And then a second question that I may ask is, how does this apply in real life? So in engineering especially, now this is one step just about office hours. But in engineering especially, you get so lost in all the calculations and all of your notes and all of these formulas that make absolutely no sense when you look at them, right? But if you actually go to ask a professor, how is it applied in real life? Then it'll give you the motivation and a little bit of background as to why that equation or concept exists. And then it might actually give you a little bit of motivation to actually learning it a little bit more. Just because, again, it seems so unintuitive, and things that are unintuitive are hard to learn because you just don't know how to wrap your head around it. And if only you knew, oh, that's why the duct exists in this ceiling and why it's of this diameter and why it flows at that rate. Or why the water in your hose gets faster, or the pressure changes, flow rates. It'll make more sense when you actually look at it in real life rather than looking at a whole Navier-Stokes equation. If you don't know what a Navier-Stokes equation is, you're probably a lucky person. But yeah,
Very lucky.
It's a huge formula. It looks easier actually than it is. It is a little bit easier than it actually looks. It's just a little bit long, but again, that is what I do if I go to office hours. Now, you can also shoot them over an email. That works too, to a professor or TA, simply just asking them. And
It's more flexible.
Exactly, right? And the reason why I'm going so hard about this office hours is because so many times in engineering, you're going to hit so many roadblocks. You're going to feel like you maybe understand something, and then you're going to feel like you hit some brain roadblock in this one concept. Now, you might go to your friends and you might go to your colleagues and be like, how do you do this? But more likely than not, actually, they might not even actually know how to do it also, because, again, as we mentioned earlier, something that is very simple to a professor might be very complex to a student, right? But the purpose of those office hours is to try to tussle with it a little bit and allow the professor, the people that are there to help you, you are putting them to work to get rid of those roadblocks and help the information flow a little bit better. So use those people, and the faster that you can do that, in my experience, the faster that you can do that, the faster you can get to do your assignments, faster you can understand the content, which means the faster you can prepare your formula sheets for the midterms, and then the better you will do. So, is there anything else that you wanted to say on office hours? Again, office hours could be like a whole episode alone.
I'm tempted to just say we should probably make an office hour episode. It might just do that, and maybe just have to stay tuned for that. But I think I'll just leave off on, sometimes this is more on like emotional and confidence level of doing office hours. I personally, for a portion, the first 3 to 4 years of my degree, was so hesitant to attend office hours just because I always thought that the questions I'd be asking were too dumb for the professor, so they'd be brushed off. That is bad thinking, because you'll never grow. I know maybe some of you might not be able to relate, but for me, I just never had the confidence, because I was like, man, what happens if the question I was asking is just too easy and like you're stuck, right? So just build up the confidence and go ask. And even if the outcome is the professor giving you a really straight, easy answer, I didn't think about it, it's okay, right? It's okay, because you're learning, you're developing. That's the only way forward. That's the only way up, right? So build up, don't be shy, don't be nervous. You're basically at the bottom. The only way to go up is up, right? So
again, at the end of the day,
nothing to lose.
Your role at the university is a student.
Yes.
And a student is meant to learn. You're not meant to be perfect, right?
Thank you.
If you were perfect, then you wouldn't be in the degree. You wouldn't be taking the course if you were perfect, right?
If you've got your PhD and you'd be done. Yeah.
You would be better than the professor, because the professor is definitely not perfect.
Exactly.
So go to those office hours, just even if it's just one question, 2 questions, just get into the habit of asking those questions, and don't be afraid to ask those quote-unquote dumb questions if you think it is, just because the professor has probably heard it many other times, especially those older guys that have heard everything. But yeah, that is my 5th year level study system that I've been using for my 5 years in engineering, almost 6 years now. But just to quickly recap, let's go over it really quick just so that it can digest a little bit for you guys. Number 1, study the syllabus, look at weighting of assignments, quizzes, midterms, and finals. So again, just look at the things that are going to increase your GPA with the amount of time that you have. Number 2 is during lecture, take notes on the notes, focus on listening, not writing. Number 3, when you receive an assignment, at least look at it to find relevant topics in the lectures. So you're trying to train your brain to understand what is going to be relevant when you're going through those lectures.
Jump ahead.
Number 4, once you start an assignment, look through lecture, seminar, midterm, maybe final problems, because the question could literally be there. Again, hinting at the efficiency that you should be going at. Number 5, if you do not understand the topic enough, watch a quick YouTube video on it. These are really good at dumbing things down. The Efficient Engineer is a great engineering YouTube channel, especially for mechanical engineering, civil engineering. Number 6, work with others. Collaborate with others, but do not rely on others. Number 7, once you get stuck on anything, do not hesitate to reach out to a professor or a TA through office hours or email. And the do not hesitate part is very important.
Critical.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let us know what other topics you want. Again, I'm going to be finishing my degree very soon after this semester. Or no, this will be my last semester. So my degree is finishing very soon. And my goal is to share as much as me and Tony know of succeeding in university through engineering specifically, just for you guys, the next generation of engineering students. Comment down below. Hit that like, hit that sub, hit that whatever.
Hit that like, subscribe. In the next episode.
Peace.